Welcome to the show. Well, 2017 is shaping up to be a year of big change in Washington County. From the start of an I-81 expansion project to a promising future for Cascade, here to talk about our bright future in Washington County is our new administrator for the county, Mr. Rob Slocum. Mr. Slocum, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So what I thought we would do, we're hoping you'll stay around for 2 blocks with us tonight. And I'd like to start, if we can, just hearing a little bit about you and your past. And I got to tell you, it's interesting. There is nobody that I've talked to that doesn't have great things to say about you. So no pressure in this new job. But I think the expectations are pretty high. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Certainly. Well, I appreciate the feedback I get. I work hard to try to earn that and try to treat everybody responsibly and with respect, the respect they deserve. So a little bit of my background. I'm from upstate New York, from a bit of a cooler climate, but went to school out in Arizona, and my wife is from around the area, okay. And we've looked since meeting out there in Arizona to get back ultimately to this area, because when I visited with her and her family, certainly it was a place we wanted to be. Fortunately, we did find a place here for us and became the Deputy Chief Engineer back 15 years ago with Washington County. And that has been led to a few promotions, and very, very thankfully to our commissioners and leadership. Had many opportunities to grow, raising 2 children here now. Both born in the hospital that no longer exists locally. So we drive by that field and I tell them that's where they were born. So that's a little bit of my background. I have about 22 years of experience, mostly in engineering, but have worked both in the public and private sector.
So you know most of the players.
Around town,
which is great. Yeah,
that
already,
is great.
It's like
a major leg up,
huge leg up.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's start let's try to get into in this segment. Let's try to get into some economic development type things. And Tom, I'll throw to you for the first question.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the Fort Richie project. You know, you get all kinds of different feedback. You know, I have a couple of people on Facebook there. Why don't we just give this property away? You know, it's ours. And then I was trying to figure out how this thing works out. Right. You know, because isn't there some contract we're going to have with these people?
Right.
What happens after? Was it 20 years or something? Could you explain how that works? Or
sure.
How that it's kind of an interesting. It's not your normal sort of a thing.
No, it isn't. Fort Richie, to start with, isn't your normal sort of thing. I mean, base relocation and closures have happened for a long time, but this one is a little bit more remote than some areas. So it took some innovative thinking, and it's been close to 20 years, I guess, now that actually it's been there as the site it is today. So many different hands at trying to get it to work the way it sits now. The agreement is basically that a company, JGBLI, would act as the agent for the county to convey the land privately and to develop growth on that Fort Richie land in Cascade. In turn, that would generate tax revenue, and obviously do what the county and the county, as well as the citizens, would like to see up there. So this relationship, they found that what had to happen was for them to own the land, and that way they could market it more directly. And in the end, the county commissioners decided that, look, the end goal here was ultimately to convey this and get this on the private tax roll anyway. So why don't we go ahead and give JGBLI that opportunity to develop it themselves, and that's where we are today. If that doesn't come to fruition, which, being a realist, it is possible, we will cross the next bridge at that point. But the first step was getting it in private hands so the county doesn't have to maintain it constantly. And this approach will get that done more efficiently, more expediently. So.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Do they have any tenants yet? I noticed that in the plan there was something that by the end of the first quarter of 2017 there would be at least 1 or 2.
They have been actively marketing, and in fact are
Yeah.
overseas now,
Yeah.
marketing those. So today there is not a tenant that they have been speaking to. I do expect they will come back later this month and talk to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And we do have some time frames involved with them
Yeah, yeah.
as far as exactly what can we expect next. Getting the land in their hands for them to
Yeah,
develop
yeah,
privately was just happened, as you know.
Yeah,
And we're gonna see how that pays off for
Now,
for
are
the
these going to
county.
be Korean businesses?
Not necessarily,
Oh, okay.
but they can be marketed. For instance, JGLBLI has done a lot of work in Montgomery County, and you can see from some of the development and so forth in Montgomery County that it's not just Korean business, it's not just any type of business, but it's no secret that they have marketed the ability to locate here and for an investment
Yeah, that's
from,
what I was
from
reading
South
their
Korea.
prospectus,
Yes.
you know, and stuff
Yes.
that I saw.
Yes.
And that seems to be their focus in conjunction somehow with the Korean government as helping to match people up.
I think there's a Korean government tie there, perhaps just because of the two governments in place. It's a sister county that
Yeah,
is in Korea that has helped foster this relationship. But really, the investment is what the county and JGBLI is looking for. That investment to grow, because as it sits right now, the land has been a liability. In that there's infrastructure out there. There's stuff that you don't see even above ground that is below ground, water lines, sewer lines, so forth. That requires a staff and a crew to maintain. So the idea is, with some forward thinking, let's get this in private hands so they're maintaining it rather than us. And as they build on the land, it can create more tax revenue for the county.
But they will need perhaps additional infrastructure.
Yes.
That's part of
yes,
the tax
entirely.
plan thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Colin?
So to shift gears a little bit here, and this is a topic that's very popular, at least here in town, and I'm sure throughout the county. What is your status? What is the status of, and what are your thoughts on the downtown project?
The status is moving along quite rapidly with a lot of excitement and energy. It is assembling a number of moving pieces right now, so that's the status. The governor's commitment to it, the Board of Education, the Board of County Commissioners, the City of Hagerstown already has some skin in the game, as well as the commissioners. USM is involved heavily in private development. So there are about 5 stakeholders that are involved, and we've been meeting regularly, weekly, Monday morning meetings, and we'll have the next one next Monday. The excitement about it is an academic hub that can then create more energy downtown and help be a spur of the economy downtown. That we're just walking through the city today after leaving a meeting and seeing the students walk through town is very invigorating. More of that, more education, more investment downtown is, and certainly the Maryland Theater, I failed to mention, is a huge part of this.
But having the
growth.
education is wonderful because you got young people
Well,
Right.
and,
who get used to being there. And I
and
think
that's
the
exactly
key.
my point. What
That's
I
the
have
key.
contended from the very outset of bringing BISFA downtown and some
Yeah.
of these other facilities, the previous generations have been generations that when they wanted to go do something, they did it at the mall or they did it at a shopping center. You're creating an entire generation of people that are used to and comfortable being in the downtown.
Yeah, well,
Right,
I think it's really
absolutely.
important. So it's nice to see everybody seems to be finally on board.
Right,
You know,
right,
working
right.
together it should go somewhere. I don't
Yeah.
see why it can't.
Yeah.
From your
It-
perspective, looking at all the different projects that are in play downtown, Fort Richie, the airport we haven't talked about, but I know there's certainly, I mean, that's another amazing asset that we have in this
certainly
county.
is,
Where do you see the next big economic growth? Or how do you prioritize that? Just not necessarily in terms of funding, but just where do you see it? Where do you see the opportunity for the next big growth?
Well, quite frankly, we've just heard this afternoon about some potential growth with a current employer in town that is too early to mention, but very exciting opportunity. So to say that there's one above the other at this point would be perhaps fail to recognize that We have Mount Etna Park or Mount Etna Farm that is, which is what Chief has, which is an incredible investment that we haven't even gotten to yet. The airport is an asset that makes us stand alone from a lot of other communities. Cascade, we do have an iron in the fire there and some pretty good leads there. The downtown project is another one. It's a good time to come on board with the county, certainly, and my predecessor, Mr. Murray, has done a wonderful job shaping us up to this point. It's also a good time to have a background of construction,
Right.
because there is a lot going on.
Yeah, there is,
So I've
absolutely.
been thankful for that
C&O
as well.
Canal?
The C&O Canal, the aqueduct with Williamsport is, millions of dollars of investment there, and a tourism attraction that will only further the towpath and the canal for what it is. So, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Colin?
So, along with a lot of the economic development that we're doing, there's a requirement for infrastructure, and specifically I'd like to talk about two things. One is the I-81 expansion, and the second one would be, and we've talked about Fort Richie quite a bit, but it is a remote area. So what are the thoughts in creating a corridor or some better accessibility to the site?
Yeah. Well, first, with Cascade, one of the things to keep in mind is that Cascade has a number of ways to get in and out of it. You can go north, south, east, or west. It is isolated. There's no question about it. We have to remember there was a thriving base there at one time that did have a lot of traffic. It generated a lot of traffic in and out of it. There's about 300 acres. So if we think about Cascade relative to, say, a comparison to premium outlets,
Right.
see how busy the premium outlets is. We think it's a wonderful asset. There's over $100 million of appraised value in the premium outlets. Yet there are two entrances to that site, and it works pretty well. Now, on Thanksgiving night or that one particular evening, it's very hectic and there are certain traffic controls. But throughout the course of the year, it does work well. So actually, my background is in traffic engineering is where I started. So I think given all of the ways in and around Cascade and the history of it, it is certainly a curiosity, but I do believe it'll work fine with the infrastructure there. Now, there is water, sewer, electric, and so forth that we haven't talked about as much that will need to be upgraded. However, the sewer aspect of it, with the plant and some investment already made by the county, there is capacity, huge capacity there. In fact, we want to be able to use more of that capacity to help pay down what's already had to be paid for by the community. So,
Excellent.
Do you have any kind of time frame for that Cascade? It seems a little more nebulous, and I imagine it's going to be difficult for you, kind of like, some of these other things are really
Right.
in progress,
Right.
and this seems just a little more nebulous because you don't really know. You're really dependent, aren't you, on this organization, the IB or
Yeah.
JB people? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mind shift for me because being responsible for capital projects, whether they're very small or multi-million-dollar projects, which we've run in the county, the way I've been a steward of the county's infrastructure and the money spent is we have a schedule. Now that schedule may change, but we have a schedule as to what's going to happen when.
Yeah.
And we stay on track with that schedule. That's been a big part of my leadership in capital projects. So this is a different animal, and what we're working toward is a sunset for, okay, if this doesn't happen by then, we're going to revisit and reassess and reappraise. Like I said, right now there are the ambassadors of JGBLI that are overseas.
Yeah.
We're looking for them to come back and give us more information, concrete, solid information as to what exactly are we talking about, what leads do we have. It has been encouraging with the academics and the other facets of development that they're looking into. So
Yeah, I went on their site and they have quite a few pictures of other projects. I don't know if they're theirs, but they're rather ambitious.
right, they are.
And I'm just wondering how that's going to work out down the road, because And it puts you in a kind of a difficult position, though, having to
It
deal with people at a distance to a certain extent.
It does to be able to and have some confidence in what's going on. I
Yeah.
will be quite frank with you. My confidence level did increase when we found that they did want to invest and become the owners of the land.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
yeah.
the reason for that is now they are paying a tax bill on that land,
That land,
whereas
yeah.
before they weren't.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they are
They have skin in
responsible.
the game.
They have skin in the
Exactly.
game. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Tom, you're going to get the last question for this block, but stay
okay.
tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back. We're going to talk some more economic development. We're going to talk about the administration as a whole at the county and how it's set up and any changes that Mr. Slocum may see. And we're going to talk about some other projects as well. So stay tuned. We'll be back in 3 minutes.